16, June 28th on a Saturday. This is Gary, and welcome back to Dad 79. So, alright, now we are going to continue to part 2 of a solo dad summer. I know in the last episode I was talking about how to kind of create a beach environment or something that's water based, pools, jumping, inflatable toys, stuff like that to entertain your kids if you're not putting them through camp or any other activities. It's just kind of like how you would turn your home into the vacation spot. I thought about putting pictures up of what I did. I don't know. I'm not sure. Is that something that, you guys would want me to include in some of these podcasts if I put them up on YouTube and stuff, and maybe add some photos of things that I'm describing or I made, or I don't know, just video of me talking. Just let me know. But for our part 2, I think I wanted to talk about something that's kind of difficult when dealing with younger kids, and that is feeding them. Just they're so picky sometimes, at one time they'll say like, I would say, hey, what would you like to eat? And my daughter would say, I want a hot dog. Okay. Well, I make a hot dog and I give it to her, and she goes, oh, I don't want this. And I say, what? You just asked for a hot dog. What do you mean? No, I don't want this. I'm not hungry for this. I want something else. All right. What can I get you? I don't know. And that's usually the response, is the guessing game of, I don't know, but make me something that I like. And it's all a little bit stressful when you have to go back into the kitchen multiple times and try to make something to feed your child that they're not going to eat, and they're not being direct on what they actually want to eat. So I think I'm just going to title this episode as Lunches, Snacks, and the Never Ending I'm Hungry. So I'm just going to kind of go and kind of tell some of my experiences, since I have a 5-year-old and my little boy is going to be 3 in a couple of weeks, and kind of the patterns I saw with my daughter early on, and then kind of how she kind of grew to having more of an appetite. I know when both of my kids were young, like I'm talking about like infants and like 1 year old and stuff, when you have to kind of mash up their food and kind of liquefy it and soften everything. During that time, it seemed like they were very interested in about everything that you gave them to eat. I have photos of my daughter covered in beet juice, and we fed her beets, which when I try to offer it to her now, she would just shake her head and say, ew, yuck, no way. The same with my son, of like giving him a version of smashed sweet potatoes that he would love to eat, and now he'd never touch it. Even in like a sweet potato fry, he wouldn't even touch it. So it's this odd transition from when they were an infant and they're very open to eating everything, and they would always eat something, and then when they kind of turn into a toddler around that, I don't know, I want to say 2 to 4 range, but maybe it's 2 to 3. It's whatever I'm dealing with my son at the moment is just complete just mystery of what they want to eat, or they will only eat, like 5 things. Like those 5 things, that he's going to eat, and usually some of it is not some of the healthier stuff. It's like a French fry or a Dorito or something like that, and trying to get them to eat something healthier is always the struggle during that time, because you want to give them nourishment. You just don't want to feed them junk all the time. uh, you know so with my son, who's going through all that stuff now, I mean, of course I have to feed him, and of course I always have to have his go-to stuff all around, which is kind of just like a French fry, uh, yogurt, Doritos, um, some kind of cookie, and for a while it was like a granola bar, or like a chewy granola bar. He would love to eat those. And then when it came to a healthy snack, he got really into apples for like a couple months, and like he would hand him one of those and eat those. He was also really into bananas for like 6 months, which was great. And he would just like single time we would go to like the grocery store, and he'd go banana, and he would reach for a banana, and I would give him a banana while we're rolling around in the grocery store, and he would just gobble that thing up and then ask for another one. And now when I try to offer him a banana, he just says banana, and he holds it, and I say, do you want me to open it? And he goes, open it. And I open it, and then he just leaves it there, and he doesn't even eat it. He doesn't even touch it. I think he probably will throw it on the ground. um, some of the other things that he would start eating is celery and those like little baby carrots, but only just like a little bit of it. It just all depends. But he's at that stage where he's very picky, and I can't kind of give him the same foods that I would give my daughter, who is 5. She'll be 6, later on in the fall, but she just definitely has grown to have a larger palette of stuff, of different types of foods, and it's a good kind of balance between a healthy homemade stuff, and then also you got like your typical kind of fast casual foods, and like your In-N-Out burgers and stuff like that, which I'm not one of those parents that is totally against my kids uh you know dabbling, or every now and then getting like a Happy Meal or a Wendy's or something like that. I mean, I grew up in the 80s. I remember all the time my parents took me to McDonald's and fast food places and everything, and I turned out to be a pretty decent kid and an adult. I don't have any other health issues or any problems like that. But I do know that it is an issue with kids and junk food and fast food and stuff like that. I always look at it as like, you can let them be kids, like let them have their Happy Meals and their toys and the little McNuggets and stuff like that, but don't give it to them every day, just like in moderation. Like if you get them a Happy Meal one day, then the next day it's like a more healthier meal, like kind of counteract it with more fruits and vegetables the next day, and it just kind of everything just kind of evens out. That's kind of been like the game plan that I've done with my daughter, and also with my son, when he does want to eat some of the healthier stuff. But if I do take them out and I get them a Happy Meal, I usually don't get them a a Happy Meal each. I kind of just give, I treat the Happy Meal more so not as like a full meal, but more so just as kind of like a little snack. So I know how much my son will eat, and I know how much my daughter will eat. They're never asking for more after one of these trips to like a McDonald's or something like that. And typically, what I would do is just you get one Happy Meal, but with I think the option of getting the McNuggets of I think there's a 6 piece, and then you have the option of getting a kid's fry and then apples or double fries. So usually what I would do is just get one Happy Meal with double the fries and the 6 piece McNuggets, and then just split it between them. So it's like 3 nuggets for her, one little French fry for her, 3 nuggets for him, one little French fry for him, and that's kind of like a good little snack. Like they're not getting a Happy Meal each. So I feel that having just a little, splitting it and having a little bit of junk food, fast food treat is good for them to have it. And then maybe in a couple hours when we get back home, for my daughter, I would cut up some strawberries and some carrots and maybe some tangerine slices and offer to her, and she'll eat that. So it's kind of a good you had a little Happy Meal snack, and then you had a nice healthy snack later on. And then for dinner, if she is hungry for dinner, I will make her whatever I was kind of cooking up. So it depends on if she would like what I'm actually cooking, or if she wanted something else that I'm okay with cooking up too. And typically that is if I'm cooking something. She loves steak and she loves meat. So, it could be a combination of some pork that I might had grilled up and cut up and put it over some rice to give it to her, or some ground turkey that I mixed in with some pasta, and that she'll eat that, and maybe request some more. Sometimes she would just eat I think I had a couple of New York strips, and I was just going to cook one for me and just kind of cut off part of it and just give it to her. And she said that she wanted her own New York strip, which is probably, it was about 6 or 7 inches long. And I said, okay. And I thought that I was going to have to like basically eat 2 New York strips on my own. But that little girl like ate that entire New York strip on her own. And she still asked for like a dessert afterwards or some kind of treat. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge. Definitely can be stressful, especially if you hadn't gone to the grocery store recently, and so your food options are limited, and you're trying to feed your kids, and they're not wanting to have anything, and the only options that you have are kind of unhealthier options. And so I say, if you're stuck in a position that's like that, and you don't have anything to offer to them, or they're not offering it to them, they're not open to any of your suggestions, or you make something and they don't want it, and you don't have any other options, and the only options that seems to be working is an unhealthy option that you might have, like, I don't know, like a bowl of Doritos or something like that. I'd say that it's okay. It's okay to go and give your kids something like this in the time being. It's not like you're giving it to them every single day. It's like one day out of the week, or it could be 2 days out of the week. It's just whenever you have the option of going back to the grocery store and getting, more food for your kitchen. I'd say it's okay. Some parents beat themselves up and say, I can't do that, my kids. And it's like, relax, it's okay. They're young kids. they got a lot of metabolism. Like it burns, it's not going to affect them the way that you're afraid that it's going to do it. Just like it's just a little thing, like the problem of any kind of diabetes or obesity and stuff like that is if you only give your kids that type of food, like 3 meals a day, that's when things can be worrisome. But if you're doing things in moderation and, a little bit of healthy food here and then a little bit of junk food here, and just kind of even everything out and maybe tip the scale a little higher on the healthy food at one day, and then maybe the other day it's a little more of the junk food type stuff. There's like it's okay. You're not giving them bad food 3 meals a day 24/7. Like that's where it's kind of an issue. I say as parents, dealing with two little kids during this time where they're very picky on eating, I'd say, do the best that you can and, put something in their belly, like the only thing that you have is like a cupcake for dinner and they actually eat that, just give it to them because it's filling their belly up. Would it be better if they were eating, sliced up grapefruit and a sweet potato fry or something like that? Yeah, like, but they're at this age where their palates are very picky. Like they might be open, but then sometimes they just want what they want, and that's kind of just how I've been dealing with feeding the kids at this moment. Those are a few choices and stuff that I'm comfortable with. I don't ever beat myself up about it. I just always, it always seems to even itself out. Like I've never been in a position where my daughter has rejected a bowl of like fresh fruit to eat and only wants to eat candy or something like that. Yes, there has been times where she might have gotten a little more candy than fruit one day, and like I said, that's okay. Like it's gonna happen. Whenever it comes down to special days, like birthdays or Halloween or Christmas or those type of holidays, I let things slide. I was like, let them be a kid. It's Halloween. I'm not gonna let them eat. The entire haul of Halloween. Like no, like I will give them enough where they seem satisfied that that's a lot, and I'll also spread it out. And I won't let them just go to town on candy the entire day. It's always just a little bit. Like if you give them two of those like mini Hershey's and then maybe like three just like 3 or 4 like actual like little Sour Patch gummies, not the packages, just the actual gummies, just a 3 of those. Like that's how I kind of spread it out when I talk about like letting them indulge in sweet treats and stuff like that. I'm never just like giving them like a bag of candy to go through. Like I was like, no, I know that that's not good for them at all, but I will let them indulge in some sweet treats when it is an appropriate time, or when it's just like, hey, you guys are kids, like I want you guys to enjoy your time as a kid. And I think every kid has always enjoyed a little bit of candy and stuff. So if the time is right and then you're at like an amusement park or something like that, or a fair or something that's like that, it's like, yeah, indulge. We'll get you some ice cream, or you want like a little bit of cotton candy, go ahead. But it's never like, I kind of look at, especially if it's an example like cotton candy, like that thing's huge. So I'm never going to like let them eat the entire thing. It's like, here, you can have a handful. Like I'll rip off a piece, and then I usually just throw the rest of it away. Um, and in addition, whenever there's like another option of something, like there's an ice cream place called Handles. I live out in the Palm Desert area in California, and they have a little, not, it's not so much like a secret, but it's just like if you go as the parent and I buy like an ice cream for myself, I can get two mini little ice cream scoops, like small little kid sizes that they don't sell for free. Like they'll give it to the parent, and these are small little sizes. Like I don't think I've ever given them like a full size adult ice cream, and maybe I think one time my daughter got it and she never ate the entire thing. She just ate enough of it and threw the rest of it away. So it's always, if I do and get them a sweet treat or something like that, or take them out to ice cream and everything, I always make it proportional to their size. I never let them overly indulge in, too much for their system. I'm always like, here's something that you guys can have. It's a nice little, toddler size for you, and that's, like I said, it's just always in moderation. I'm not trying to not let them have, ice cream and cake with their friends and stuff like that. It's like, no, like, you guys go do that. This is the birthday. Go have fun. Tomorrow we're just going to not have any of that stuff. We're going to have some healthier options. And I've never seen them complain about it. They seem to be okay with that type of system. But when it does come down to trying to find little tricks, I guess, like creative food hacks and how to trick them into getting healthier stuff, and things. The best way that I found that out, especially now that it's summertime, is going out and buying some of those like silicone like ice cream or like popsicle makers. Get a couple of like different, I guess, sizes. They make some that are like the push pop style, and then they make others where you can kind of make it like a regular popsicle on a stick. And then you have some that kind of are smaller, but they kind of, like the moldings are like a flower or like a dinosaur or something like that. I actually found one the other day which turns them into ring pops, like little ring pop molds. And I tried out a bunch of these different type of molds to see actually what works for them. I first tried with the push pop style. They did not like that. I also tried the regular kind of popsicle style with the stick in it. They did not like that. The one mold that actually worked a lot was it was kind of like a lollipop mold, where it was a circle and it had, you split it, and you would just you could do it a couple different ways of making a mold inside of stuff. For a while, I was just going to like this grocery store, and sometimes you can just go find in the healthy section, you can find just like the fresh juice. So it's usually just like fresh lemon juice with like cucumber and mint, and they have like different versions and flavors of that, where some of it's like a strawberry with like beet juice and all that kind of, non like Tropicana high C type stuff is like 100% juice. So usually what I do is I would get I would have the lollipop mold, which I would keep it together because it splits, and then there's like the stick is plastic and it's kind of like a stopper. So I'd take the stopper off, and then you have a hole, and I'd have a little funnel, and then I would pour the juice inside until it got to the top, and then stuck the handle stick that's also the stopper in, and then freeze it. And so when it was time to give the kids a treat, I'd say, "Oh, do you guys want a lollipop?" And they would look at it and they would think, "Oh, it looks like a real lollipop." Uh, so I'm down to have it. And so, you'd put it over the sink a little bit to warm it up a little bit, and then, pop off the two sections of the molding, and then give it to them. And it's not like a full size popsicle. It's about the size of like maybe like a blow pop, maybe a little bit bigger than that. But it's a popsicle basically. It's just like all fruit juice, and both my kids just love that, And then they're getting all the vitamins and nutrients from, the beet juice and like the mint and cucumber juice and all that kind of stuff. And I found another mold that I wanted to try out. I haven't done it yet, but I found the ring pop one. So I'm going to try to do the same thing, but instead maybe make smoothies, blend up fruit and make some kind of healthier smoothie, and then pour it into the ring pops and freeze it, and then hand it to them. Like, I could have done that on the lollipop ones, but that hole is too small to kind of accept, like a thicker liquid, like a smoothie. I think I tried it once and it just made a mess. But if you're having trouble kind of getting your kids to eat more fruits and vegetables, and get their vitamins that way, and they're really addicted to, more like sweeter stuff, more treats and stuff like that, I would suggest going out and buying a couple of these popsicle molds and trying your own version of, fresh juices and smoothies and stuff, and then making them into popsicles, lollipops, ring pops, whatever, and seeing if your kids would, which ones that they like the most, which ones they don't like. And if they do like it, just continue trying different variations of it. And that's kind of a good little hack to make the kids think that they're getting like a sweet, sugary treat or something like that. But then it makes you feel good because it's like, oh, they're getting their vitamins and vegetables and healthy stuff right now, and it's I don't know, it's just, it makes you feel a little bit better, I guess, that they're getting this healthy alternative on there. But yeah, I think that as far as like other food hacks that I can think of, let's see, besides all that kind of stuff, I don't know, it's that's kind of it. It's tricky. It's definitely very tricky when it comes to kids this age to get them to eat things that that they need to eat. So I would say go out, be creative about it, do things in moderation, healthy versus fast food and stuff, but they're still kids, like this is their time to have some of that junk food stuff. It's not good to have it later in life. So it's like this is their time to kind of indulge in some of that junkiness, but do things in moderation and counterbalance things with the junky sugary food and then the healthier homemade food. That's kind of the best advice that I can say as a solo parent. But yeah, So that was part 2 of the Solo Dad Summer. I will see you guys next week. All right, have a good one.